Hello everyone, I'm Brian Croy Dragon, and welcome back to Vox Adventures. This is the winter season finale. So what shall we talk about? Finished the war movies yesterday, Raid on Ramon and whatever however that other one's pronounced, Uza something, I'm not sure. Um, so during the 19th century in the United States, American Apache War, I think. I'm really baffled about the pronunciation. And then after that, I watched the anime film The Wonderland. Oh, jeez. Well, the sun's going down, so. Or is it? What's going on here? Yeah, sun's going down. After that, I watched the anime film The Wonderland. Very good. It's quite wholesome. No death or anything like that. Last night, Zombie asked me if I'd ever seen Yojimbo, which I have not, but I have seen other pieces of Akira Kurosawa's work, such as Throne of Blood and Ran, and I've even read the script to The Seven Samurai. I've also seen Rashomon. Uh, I took some film classes in college, so that was one of the films we had to watch. Yes, Throne of Blood and Ran are my favorites of Akira Kurosawa's work. Ran in particular, it's his best movie. It's one of the best King Lear adaptations you'll never see. It really does well at translating things culturally, and so instead of three daughters, you have three sons. Edmund is replaced by a female character. The wife of one of the sons. And it just plays out in all of its tragic glory. I can't remember who it was who plays Hidetora, the King Lear analog, but his makeup makes him look like Toshiro Mifune, Akira Kurosawa's long-term star, who they really weren't on speaking terms at the time, and it makes you wonder what it would have been like had Toshiro Mifune played the role. He was he starred in Throne of Blood as Rashizu, the Macbeth analog, since that is an adaptation of Macbeth, my favorite Shakespeare play. Now, I don't think it would count as round at Mike, but if you look the film up on Wikipedia, there's a synopsis there, so you'll know what happens. So, the Macduff analog is called Noriyasu, and he's heavily demoted compared to his Shakespearean counterpart. He's basically just there as the Malcolm counterpart's second in command. Rashizu never targets his family. Noriyasu never swears revenge. There's far no duel between the two. Which is sad because that would actually, as much as I like the final ending of Rashizu's men turning on him and loosing their arrows at him, I genuinely wish we had gotten a samurai duel to the death between Rashizu and Noriyasu. In my opinion, Macbeth has one of the best climaxes in Shakespeare. It's perhaps one of the greatest duels on stage. If not in fiction. And seeing it translated in various ways on screen is exciting. Just hit the sheep with some rotten flesh. Actually, what's it? Oh, still just rotten flesh. First Shakespeare thing I ever saw was The Merchant of Venice, and this is the one where Al Pacino plays Shylock. It's a wonderful movie. I highly recommend it. And there's a whole lot of historical accuracy. Those shots of the Venetian prostitutes with their breasts bare in public, that wasn't something for I've read some reviews on some sites, and there are people saying that's just things because round sex sells. It's just something to get a higher rating, and that's not quite it. It's just historical accuracy. That was actually what was being done. And as for the higher rating, it's got a PG up here in Canada. Because there's really nothing sexual about it, it's just historical accuracy. It was a different time, it was... Oh, pumpkin. It was to, if I recall correctly, the reason was to... What in... was to prevent homosexuality. Yeah, that was apparently a thing they were scared of back then in Venice. In Venice? Actually, yeah, was the Pope thing, was the Pope being, Venice I think is in Italy, and with the Pope being in Italy, I guess it makes sense. But on the other, but again, it's just historical accuracy. That's all it is. Pumpion. Hmm. The second Shakespearean uh, production I saw, Shakespearean adaptation I saw was some film version of Romeo and Juliet on Turner Classic Movies. I just came in halfway through. I didn't stay for the whole thing because I didn't know what was going on. Hey, Alex. So later I discovered Shakespeare the Animated Tales. And I started off with Macbeth. Uh, it's a wonderful adaptation. Hits all of the right notes. Brian Cox, who you might remember as Stryker in X2 and Agamemnon in Troy, provided the voice of Macbeth. Zoe, well, I'm not exactly sure. It's Zoe, so I guess it's Zoe Wanamaker, who you'll remember from Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, where she played Madame Hooch, provides the voice of Lady Macbeth. And there's a there's an Orson Welles inspired design to the characters that takes inspiration from the Orson Welles film, which I've not seen. But Macbeth, he obviously looks like Orson Welles. Macduff, he looks like Dan O'Hurley, who I was actually first introduced to through the Batman the animated series episode Deep Freeze, where Dan O'Hurley voices Grant Walker. One shot villain, but a memorable one nonetheless. Basically, taking that urban legend of Walt Disney having been cryogenically frozen and turning him into a second Mr. Freeze. Hi. And after that, it just snowballed from there. The Seven Samurai script, it's an excellent read. I highly recommend it. Rashomon also good. Interesting to see the different takes on what happened. It's sad that Akira Kurosawa never got a chance to direct a Godzilla movie. He wanted to. He was a big fan of the franchise, but Toho was worried about him going over budget or something like that. And you can also find a lot of Akira Kurosawa references to a lot of references to Akira Kurosawa in the comic book series Usagi Yojimbo. For instance, the main character Miyamoto Usagi, yeah, Usagi Miyamoto. Okay, I can't really remember. Yeah, I think it's in Japan it's Miyamoto Usagi because Usagi is his given name. So, just for one, as I mentioned, Toshiro Mifune was the star of many Akira Kurosawa films. He even could have been Obi-Wan Kenobi. In fact, he was George Lucas's first choice for the character. But a combination of his heavy accent and science fiction not being held in high regard at the time prevented that. Also, he thought the Jedi were mocking a samurai. So that's that. But as I was saying, the Lord that Usagi served in his backstory was Lord Mifune. And as Usagi is an anthropomorphic rabbit, Lord Mifune is was a anthropomorphic tiger. As I said, Usagi served him in his backstory. Mifune is dead by the present. And we learn about how Lord Mifune died in the very first issue. I was first introduced to Usagi Yojimbo in the late 90s. Late 90s, early 2000s. Probably the late 90s. You know, Digimon was all the rage. The Pokemon Digimon Wars. Or however you want to describe the rivalry. and what was going on with the programming at the time. Yeah, the programming that was screwing over shows like Godzilla the series and others. Anyway, um, I was introduced to Usagi Yojimbo first by seeing it in an ad in a Digimon comic. I didn't actually get properly introduced in the character until the 2003 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series. It's an excellent series, probably the best television adaptation of the Ninja Turtles. It's much more faithful to the original comics, even if it does make some changes, but they're good changes. But then again, when it comes to the change involving the Shredder, and by that I mean making him the main villain, basically, instead of just the villain who dies in the first issue. At the end of the first issue, they come on, they've been doing that since the 80s with the Fred Ruff show. Even more faithful adaptations do it because, well, I don't know. Uh, anyway, I didn't get into Usagi Yojimbo until I was in high school. And I don't know why. It's probably because I couldn't find any collections or things like that. So there we go, and I've got quite a few collections upstairs. Yeah, speaking of the 2003 Ninja Turtles show, Veronica Taylor, who voiced April in that show, is one is voicing Ash in Pokemon, the first English dub voice for Ash. Uh, last at the 2019 Fan Expo, I met her and got her autograph. It was great to meet her. She, without a doubt, my favorite actress who have played April, be it she's my favorite actress to have voiced April. Well, she's my favorite television April. Actually, she might be my favorite April period because, as faithful as the first Ninja Turtles film is, it does incorporate a bit of the Fred Ruff show, and as much as I don't like the Fred Ruff show, the 1980s version, because it doesn't really adapt the comics. It turns it into what was basically a parody of Daredevil, which is all but forgotten now. It's now just legitimately action, adventure, and that sort of thing. So, yeah, the Ninja Turtles have pretty much forgotten their roots. They're not a parody of Daredevil and the like anymore. But one thing that I do applaud the creators for is actually differentiating the turtles. In the comics, it was all in black and white. All had the same character design. You couldn't tell them apart except for their weapons. And when colorized, and this does include the covers, which were often in color, they all had red masks. So yeah, it's something that I really applaud the adaptations for is differentiating the turtles. The creators of the Turtles and Stan uh, Sakai. I can't remember what it is right now, and I don't want to butcher it. So, um, they're, they're friends, so there's been occasional crossovers. So that's why Usagi has made appearances in Ninja Turtle adaptations. The 80s series, of course, but Usagi Yojimbo is not his name. It is not. His name is Miyamoto Usagi. Usagi Yojimbo is the title of the series. He's a rabbit and he's a bodyguard on occasions. He's officially he's a Ronin. He's a samurai without a liege. And it's a little bit funny that Usagi Yojimbo had an ad in a Digimon comic because it's not exactly family friendly. It's not kid friendly. Oh, for goodness sake. Yo, hold on. Yeah, Usagi Yojimbo is not kid friendly. There's beheadings, there's cases of seppuku. Uh, Death is quite common, and while I have no, there's no problem with death in entertainment for children, especially not for the entire family. Yeah, many people presume because, well, most of the characters except for the main villain are anthropomorphic animals, and if you're wondering why I say that the main villain is actually human, and it's probably because of that he hasn't really appeared in a long while. Because he just stands out completely. Humans used to appear alongside everyone. Anthropomorphic animals and humans used to appear commonly, but it's since fallen out in well, leaving Lord Hikiji, or however, actually, is it even Lord Hikiji, or am I confusing him with a different character? I haven't read them in a while, but I do love the stories. And the weird, yeah, it really is the weird thing that he's pretty much the only human left anymore in the series, and I think that's why he doesn't appear. He just stands out that much. You remember those green skinned villains in the 1960s Spider-Man show? Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly like what Lord Hikiji is in Usagi Yojimbo. He just stands out that much because let's face it, if the characters were human and he had green skin, he was not. And if he had green skin, he'd just stand out like that. And it's because Norikiji is human, while everyone else are anthropomorphic animals. Yeah, it's just like that. There's a non-canon War of the Worlds. Usagi. Yeah, so they come down, the Martians, they come down, and there's a whole lot of death. It feels like it could have been a grand finale. Usagi even dies at the end. And you're probably wondering how they fight the Martians. It's ridiculous, and I can see why it's non-canon, but it's quite literally with a giant robot, because of course. And it's even referred to as a Gundam at one point. You know, if you've never read any of the Usagi Yojimbo comics, I highly recommend them. I I do have plans to go reread them at some point. Uh, of course, I have to finish rereading The Son of Tarzan first, and after that, I'm going to reread Caravan to Xanadu. But Usagi Yojimbo is on my reread list. Okay, so going back from the Fred Ruff Ninja Turtles show, yeah, April was not a reporter in the original comics. She's never been one. She was actually a scientist working for Baxter Stockman. I'm don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure the whole reporter thing is just because a member of Superman's supporting cast is a reporter. There's been a female character. Well, a lot of members of Superman's supporting cast are reporters. But there's a member of Batman's supporting cast who's been a reporter. So I don't know. I'm guessing the creators were just like, it's based off of a comic. It's set in the real world. A character has to be a reporter. Yeah, there's also the combining of Hamato Yoshi and Splinter. They were never running the same in the comics. If you want a accurate summation, you find it in the first Turtles film, you find it in the 2003 series. Splinter was just Hamato Yoshi's pet rat. He learned ninjutsu from copying what his master did. And something interesting to note about April is that she wasn't initially white. She's what we term ambiguously brown. Like, she could have been anything. You know, she could have belonged to any ethnicity, so there you go. She Rise of the Ninja Turtles where she's black? Yeah. It's not that much of a stretch considering she could have been anything. How are we supposed to know? Until they finally settled on just drawing her right. Honestly, I like the ambiguously brown look because, as I said, could have been anything. I personally like to think she was biracial. Oh jeez, are you kidding me? No, no. My boat! Hold on one moment. I also like the red-haired look, so personally I'd keep the ambiguously brown appearance, but keep the red hair. It's a good thing. I quite like red hair, and it's. I mean, being a redhead myself, although my hair's darkened quite a bit, but it still is actually red. Uh, I genuinely want to see more redheads in fiction, and knowing that it's not just a European thing pisses me off because, for God's sake, Chinggis Khan was a redhead. You've got redheads in natural redheads in Oceania. You telling me you can't have a redhead and have them be something but white? Or of European descent? Uh, Another example I'd have to go with is the character of Bo in Shiva and the Princesses of Power. He's given a race lift, he's black. Again, with the knowledge that red hair is not strictly European. They could have kept the red hair from the original show. I would have kept the red hair from the original show. In fact, if I was in charge of the show, I would have kept the red haired look, the red hair of a lot of characters. In fact, with my viewing of Shiva as uh, the Shiva character as a whole, and not just that specific show, as an adaptation of Wonder Woman, keeping with Amalgam Comics and and their portrayal of and their combining of Wonder Woman with Storm of the X-Men, where Storm became Wonder Woman. I thought would have made Adora black and given her the white hair. I mean, long term, Shiva fans probably would have hated me for it, but who gives a damn? And as long as we're going back to that green-skinned villain thing, actually, having Bo be black but red hair, I think I might basically use that as a character for my, uh, for a fantasy series jeez. For a fantasy series I'm planning, I mean, there's going to be a lot of redheads, but I really want to just avoid it being strictly European. Not that the characters are, not that there is Europe. It's it's a fantasy world, but and it's actually based on the ancient world. Anything from the beginning of ancient Egypt to 476 is of the Common Era. That's free game for inspiration. Uh, and the villain is of this series is Taurus. He's the high priest of the bone god. He's inspired by what we'd call demethyfied portrayals of the Minotaur. So things like The King Must Die, House of Leaves, on fantastic stories or whatever. There's multiple translations to the title, but you get the idea. The Total War Troya, Total War Saga, those are basically what he's inspired by, and in A King Must Die, Asterion, who is, well, let me just say, he's the Minotaur of the story. He's described with greenish dark skin, and I don't know how to interpret that, if I'm meant to interpret it as literally greenish. Of course, considering that there was a time when the sea was described as wine dark, it might not be literal. His skin is described as like a ripe olive in color. I mean, I don't know how to interpret that. If literally, yeah, guess Taurus is gonna have greenish dark skin, and well, there's a lot of characters with dark skin. I mean, for instance, you'll have this bow-inspired character who, of course, the red hair of Bow's original incarnation combined with the dark skin of his later incarnation. Can I really not have a boat? Yeah, as I was saying, Taurus is going to be the only dark-skinned character whose skin is greenish. In fact, he's going to be the only character with greenish skin, period. No, wait, I might have some a light-skinned character with greenish skin, just to make him seem like Taurus's counterpart, and it's not really something about race, it's just, it is what it is. Yeah, no boat. Better keep mine safe, then. In fact, look, Eric of Taurus himself is going to be actually as he's going to be, yeah, he's pretty racist himself, but not of, well, I don't know. He's going to be racist himself. He's the children of the native. He's a child of the native populace of Aether, uh, who have people of the native populace have olive skin, blue eyes, wavy black hair. Again, it's the ambiguously brown look for them, so they can't be anything. His father accused his mother of infidelity with either a foreigner or an immigrant. Either way, Taurus is going to be prejudiced against both, and of Aetherians with descent from immigrants, so yeah, he's really not politically correct. Oh jeez. I don't have a lot of faith with these trees. I don't think I have a lot of faith with this depth. If you ever seen Frozen 2 or Avatar The Last Airbender, if you know the colonization thing going on by that's basically what Taurus is going to be like. He's genocidal, he's colonialist. That's basically his character. And his hatred for foreign peoples basically stems from okay, no, music's normal. It's not something creepy coming up. Oh, hello, something creepy. Eh, not really. Yeah. His hatred for foreign peoples and immigrants, it all stems from the way his father treated him. Never recognizing him as his son, but despite that, when his father died, he was still recognized as the logical successor as High Priest of the Bone God. Oh geez, I really went on about Mulan a lot this season, and a lot of it might have to do with the fact that when I actually sat down and did my research, I realized just how much I've been lied to. Because, this wasn't a war between China and some people of the steppes. No, these were two proto-Mongols. This was a war between two proto-Mongol states. The Northern Ray, which Mulan comes from. Yeah, it's a Chinese dynasty, but it's not just located in modern China. It's also what was once the Northern Ray is now also a part of modern Mongolia and Inner Mongolia. Yeah, it's a war between two peoples of the steppes. I'd like to see an adaptation that goes for more emphasis on similarities between the two peoples, because well, the Iron Bay did go China, go Chinese, they still kept a lot of their traditions. They referred to their monarch as a Khan. They allowed women to fight, ride, and all that. There needs to be more emphasis on the similarities of the people rather than the differences. And really an adaptation that just focuses on, well, the cultures would be excellent. More focus on the cultures is what's needed. Oh, and on an additional note, further research on my part has shown that Mulan, earlier this case, her given name wasn't, it was going to be unknown. So Mulan, that wasn't her given name, that was her family's name, it was her surname. Good lord, it's so what, does it make her Mulan Mulan? Oh, good lord. Well, that was this season of Vox Adventures. I'm Brian Croydragon, signing out. Stay Shrey.